Our final step is letter G. Create a histogram, frequency polygon, and ogive using Megastat. You'll remember that the ogive is really just a cumulative frequency polygon. In order to do this step, we will go into the Add-ins ribbon tab in Excel, and you should see Megastat over here. You notice that I don't have Megastat showing here. Why? Because I'm still selected on the chart. As soon as I move to another cell, watch up here, Megastat add-in shows up. I'm not exactly sure why it does that, but if you know Megastat was installed properly and it was there before, and you are on a chart and you don't see your Megastat add-in, just click an empty cell and it should show back up. Once we've established that we have the Megastat add-in, we select it, go to our second item on the list, frequency distributions, go to quantity, or quantitative, excuse me, and we'll get an open dialog box called frequency distributions quantitative. By default, the input range cell is selected. When you do the input for the data in Megastat, do not include the label. If you include the label, it won't work. We've predetermined what our classes are, the number of groupings we have for our intervals, and the first one is how many people had from 0 to 2 visits, so that includes 0, 1, and 2. And so the next one is 3, 4, and 5. So our interval width is 3. We want to tell Megastat what that is. We could leave it blank, and Megastat would use its own internal algorithm to determine the classes, and you can try it on your own. You'll find that Megastat comes up with a different number of intervals than what we have, so your information will be inaccurate compared to what we have already worked on. The lower boundary of the first interval, we're starting at 0, so that is 0. And we're asked to do a histogram, frequency polygon, and ogive. So the histogram by default is selected. We just check the polygon and ogive chart, click OK. Megastat takes a moment and creates a new worksheet tab called Output. If you do not change this output label to a different name, each time you run Megastat, Megastat will either add more data into this output tab, or it will overwrite the data. And you don't want to overwrite your data, and it's probably a good idea to go ahead and rename it as soon as you make it. Rename it to something that makes sense to you. In this case, we'll do a frequency distro output so that we know it relates to our frequency distribution tab. You'll notice, just as we had before, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different classes or groupings. 1, 2, 3, 4. But in ours, it says 0 to 2. In Megastat, it says 0 to less than 3. So what this is, the way that you would read this is to say that the first class or the first grouping is from 0 up to, but not including 3. You'll notice that when we have the frequency counts in Megastat, they parallel what we came up with in ours. And then we have a percent, which is our relative frequency, and in ours it's not a percent. So if we wanted it to match, we would just highlight the cells, go to Home, click on the percent button, and we should see the same numbers, 40, 28, 28, and 4.0. You can even add in, by clicking this, the extra decimal place that Megastat provides for you. The cumulative frequency and the percent, or the relative cumulative frequency, is listed over here in Megastat, and you can see that right here. Again, we can go in, change that to percent, add in the extra decimal place, and our numbers should match up pretty nicely to what Megastat provides. Underneath we have the histogram, and you'll notice the same categories or the same groupings, 0 to up to but not including 3, 6, 9, and 12. And you'll notice that Megastat puts the top value in the center of the histogram bar. Frequency polygon, and then our cumulative frequency polygon.